Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's National Big Word Day. Tony, give me a big word.
Tony Kornheiser, Gilgeous Alexander, Tunga Vailoa, Antetokounmpo, Biancalana.
That's better.
What do you think? Yeah.
Antetokounmpo is always a twister. In the old days, you and I would have said Krzyzewski and dared people to spell it. K-R-Z-Y-D-E-W-S-K-I. How's that?
That's very good. Good job out of you. You can advance to fourth grade from third grade. Very good. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, both LA teams lose. Cooper Flagg goes pro, and Ronald Acuna Jr. has beef with his manager. But we begin today with the NBA playoffs and two games from yesterday that stood out. The Golden State Warriors went on the road and beat 2-seed Houston, and Oklahoma City demolished Memphis by 51 points, the largest Game 1 margin in NBA history. Wilbon, which was the more significant result?
Oh, Tony, there's no question to me that the more significant result was Golden State, winning in Houston, winning in the Toyota Center last night. And you and I, of course, talked about this on your podcast today. And you were even more immediately impressed than I was, and I slid over further to your way of seeing the result of that game. And in live time, Tony, Steph Curry was Steph Curry, of course, but he gets an A+ for last night. And not just his usual jaw-dropping three-pointers. And he hit like three of them that looked like they were in a video game. Well, you're like, what did he? I got to see that again. What did he do? And Jimmy Butler was great both ways, offensively, defensively, and he gets an A+. And Draymond Green made some defensive plays where he just sort of, at some point, was freelancing as Draymond Green, like a free safety, and deciding, here's how I'm going to take this play away from bigger, stronger, faster, more agile, facile, Gumby-like athletes that Houston has. They all get A's or A+. I don't know whether it's sustainable, but the question is about one game. Look, Oklahoma City, what they did, it was nuclear. It was, but I don't even know what it means. I thought, I think this was significant what the Dubs did last night.
Yeah, we're going to agree on this. I'll just do a little deeper dive on the Memphis game. I don't tend to talk a lot about game ones as if they're important, because if it's reversed in game two, then you look like an idiot. But it was amazing last night that Memphis was so stinkingly bad. It's just incredible when you think about this. Now, maybe there's an excuse. I think they had to play within 36 hours of getting into the playoffs by beating Dallas. I'm sure that was a very emotionally charged circumstance. I had no sense whatsoever that they were going to beat Dallas. I thought Dallas was going to win that game. But again, they were so stinkingly bad. Mike, at one point they were down 56 points. 56 points. Oklahoma City had swept them in the regular season 4-0, but by an average of 18, not the 51 that was at the end of this particular game. But if you want me to get carried away, much like you, I'll get carried away with Golden State going on the road and beating a 2-seed. Golden State's, the average age of their players is around 50. They have no business winning this particular game, and they might have snuck the series away in that one game. And you know what? I'm going to be happy if that's the case, because the truth is everyone wants to see Golden State, and nobody yet cares about Houston. Not yet.
But Houston's going to have something to say. I think that's going to be a real series. But that first game,
I would bet on them in game two ahead of Memphis in game two. That Memphis game, that wasn't a 1-8. That was a 132. Come on. That was awful.
Wow. Josh says they won't be that bad again. Let's see. That's quite a promise. Let's move to Saturday's results. The Clippers went into OT with the Nuggets and lost by 2 in Denver. And in Minnesota, the Lakers got blowed out. No. In Los Angeles, the Lakers got blowed out by the Timberwolves despite Luka's 37. So which of the LA teams had the more notable loss? Clippers, Lakers.
All right, I'm going to make a value judgment here at the beginning of this answer. I know, Mike, that you really like the Clippers. There is no coach in the NBA that you praise more than Tyronn Lue, except maybe Jason Kidd.
That's
but
fair.
the Clippers are the second team in LA. People pay attention to the Clippers when the Lakers are not playing. The Clippers, for example, made a great hire 5 or 6 years ago when they got Kawhi Leonard. It's a great hire. They made a great trade a couple of years ago when they got James Harden. But that trade wasn't one half as great or one quarter as great as the Lakers getting Luka Doncic, another reason why Nico Harrison should be fired. And when you put Harden and Kawhi out there together, that's great. But it's not half as great or a quarter as great as Luka and LeBron out there. So what I'm saying, Mike, is the more notable, the more important, everything that goes on in LA, it slides towards the Lakers. Plus the Lakers lost at home and the Clippers, that was a road game. Mike, I don't think there's anything the Clippers do that is as important as what the Lakers do in LA.
Well, certainly not early, Tone, to your point, in the playoffs. Now, they got to get down the road, and they could get down the road because that game was even, and I think the Clippers will even that series at 1 tonight against Denver, Game 2 in Denver. So, Tony, I'm going to agree with you. And part of it was the Lakers are going to struggle against Minnesota because the Timberwolves are a veteran playoff team.
They're good.
They have been through the wars.
They were in the conference finals.
Yes, they've won big series. They beat Denver. They eliminated the champs at the time. They've lost big series. They've been disappointed. They've been through this all as a team, and they got veteran guys, and they got long, athletic players who can at least bother or get in the way of Luka and LeBron. And listen, I asked you this morning on your podcast, so we can wrap up this segment. I'm going to ask you again. You think this is a must-win tomorrow night for the Lakers in Game 2 against the T-Wolves? Struggle against Minnesota because the Timberwolves are a veteran playoff team.
They're good.
They have been through the
They were
wars.
in the conference finals.
Yes, they've won big series. They beat Denver. They eliminated the champs at the time. They've lost big series. They've been disappointed. They've been through this all as a team, and they got veteran.
Where he is widely expected to be the number 1 pick. Flagg has often
been through the
they were
wars.
in the conference finals.
Yes, they've won big series. They beat Denver. They eliminated the champs at the time. They've lost big series. They've been disappointed. They've been through this all as a team, and they got veteran guys, and they got long, athletic players who can at least bother or get in the way of Luka and LeBron. And listen, I asked you this morning on your podcast, so we can wrap up this segment. I'm going to ask you again. You think this is a must-win tomorrow night for the Lakers in Game 2 against the T-Wolves?
100%. 100%. I mean, and I want to see them win for the possibility that they could get the Warriors in the next round. It's absolutely a must game.
So, Tony, I think he can help. If the San Antonio Spurs, oh, my God, win the lottery and he gets paired with Wembanyama, watch out right away, like next year. It'll be like, when Ralph and Akeem got together immediately, oh, watch out. Against Minnesota because the Timberwolves are a veteran playoff team.
They're good.
They have been, but there's some franchises, and I just mentioned 2 of them. There are a couple of more. He could join, Tony, and the Phoenix Suns. If you put him out there with Booker and you then keep Durant, what do you have? So he could really help boost. He could. He's that good. It's a beast.
I'm going to leave that part of the answer to you. There's 2 things I want to say. One is that I am disappointed that he's leaving college. I had hoped that he would stay in college 1 more year. I am quite confident that he could have gotten enough NIL money to balance the first year of his NBA contract, which is like $14 million. I believe that at Duke, they could have raised $14 million in an hour and a half. I like college basketball. I think one and done is very bad. I've always thought this, very bad for college basketball. And I would have loved to see Duke run that one back with those 3 freshmen and everybody else on team. I would have loved to see that.
Now they're going to have none of those freshmen, by the way.
I know, none of them. I understand, and I understand the reasoning behind it. I just happen not to like it. The second thing that I want to talk about with Cooper Flagg is he has more leverage right now before he plays in the NBA than he will ever have when he plays in the NBA. So if there's a team he wants to play for, he's going to be able to do that. Give me 30 more seconds. We both remember John Elway and Eli Manning saying, no, I'm not going there. I want to go somewhere else. We both remember just 2 months ago, Jimmy Butler said, oh, no, I want to go here. Get me over here. Kevin Durant does this every 2 years. Cooper Flagg could do this. Cooper Flagg could go to Adam Silver and say, here's where I want to play, work it out, and if you can't work it out, I'm going back to college. I don't know what he wants. He's a Maine kid. Maybe he wants to play for the Celtics. Maybe he wants to play for the Lakers. I don't know. But he doesn't have to be told where to go. He can make his own decision if it is important to him, and it may not be. Let's take a break.
May not be.
Coming up, was Ronald Acuna Jr. right that his manager has a double standard?
And this walk-off bat flip was special, but there was an even better moment in baseball over the weekend. Tony, don't you want it with the Wizards? You got a shot. You got a real shot at Cooper Flagg in a Wizard uniform.
No, because it's a bad organization. It's been bad for a long time. I want this kid to go where he wants to go, don't you? Don't you want him to go where he wants to go?
Hey.
Time to dredge the email box. Let me see what's first here. Go to the glasses.
Mail time!
Was Ronald Acuna Jr. right to criticize his manager, Brian Snitker?
Yes. He wasn't just right to make the criticism. It was insightful. It was bold. And I admire him for making it because Ronald Acuna Jr. has to sit by knowing that a few years ago, I think like 6 years ago, the same guy benched him for not running out something. It doesn't matter what he didn't run out. I think he got tagged out on the base pass because he didn't get around. But then he watches this organization later as Snitker does nothing and was asking the presser after the game, what did you say to this guy who wasn't hustling? And he said nothing. I said nothing. And Acuna Jr. comes back. If it was me, I'd have gotten thrown out. Yeah. And there's a disturbing pattern to Snitker and who he admonishes and who he doesn't. Disturbing to me, and maybe only me. But yeah, I'm glad Acuna Jr. called his butt out.
So I believe Acuna Jr. was right in this sense, that as you say, 6 years ago, he didn't run something out, and the same manager was critical of him and removed him from the game. And in this case, he did absolutely nothing. Now, let me give the manager the benefit of the doubt in this regard. Maybe he learned something from Acuna. Maybe he became more tolerant. Maybe it was a teaching moment. Far more important than that is the notion that after 6 years, Acuna did not forget it all and called out the manager. Okay, Acuna is still the best player that Brian Snitker has. This is not a good sign for the present or the immediate future if your best player is still angry at you. Not a good sign.
Well, after Snitker saw the play on replay later or the next day, Acuna Jr. deletes it. But no. The episode cannot be taken back. This is good.
Right.
And you are totally reasonable to give that manager some benefit of the doubt. I have switched places with you in my old age, and now I'm vengeful. I want revenge on everybody. I'm cynical about everybody, and I want Snitker's head on a platter. I do.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Better baseball moment. Andy Lugo's walk-off bat flip or Austin Fawley's mom snagging his grand slam ball?
This isn't close. There's no choice. This is a walkover. This is like, Oklahoma City versus Memphis yesterday. A bat flip, you can see the bat go up in the camera view. It's in the shot right there. Okay, but it's a bat flip. There's 1,000 bat flips every day. One player after another somewhere in the universe tries to outdo the previous dope with flipping a bat. But when your mom is in position, and there might be, I don't know, maybe there were what, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people. I don't know how many people in attendance. But your mom's got a camera in one hand, streaming it perhaps, and one hand snags the ball with another. That's an all-time moment. All time.
Okay. There are not 1,000 bat flips a day that go anywhere near this height in the air. This is the most amazing bat flip that I have ever seen because it left the camera range at some point. This was like a space launch. This was like Cape Canaveral. And, you know, I have no idea if that bat ever came down. But yes, you were 100% right. It's the mom. The mom is out there. She gets her hands on the ball. She can then say to people, this is my son. Here's the ball. Eat it. She can say that if she wants. The only thing that is disturbing to me is, why is your mom out in the deep left field bleachers? Why isn't your mom in a better seat? What is she doing all the way out there?
Maybe she snuck in. You know, maybe she snuck in. I remember Anthony Kornheiser, who wasn't supposed to be watching Lizzie in the ballpark at all. And oh, wait, there he is. That was in high school. The left field foul pole. Huh?
That's true, but that was in high school. They weren't charging admission. Let's take one last break. Still to come, the Brewers do something that hasn't been done since 1919.
And the Pistons try to even things up with the Knicks. Tony, doesn't matter if the bat flip was high. We're going to start, like, judging bat flips. Some are harder, some are faster, some are higher. Some have a greater spin rate.
Happy time, people. Happy 27th birthday, Jared Allen. The Cleveland Cavaliers center averaged 13.5 points, 9.7 rebounds this season. He shot 70.6% from the field. Teamed with Evan Mobley, Allen gives the Cavaliers great rim protection and low post scoring. Allen was originally drafted in 2017 out of Texas by the Brooklyn Nets with the 22nd pick and was traded to Cleveland as part of a complicated 4-team trade for James Harden in 2021. Allen has made one All-Star game. Cleveland was a surprise of the Eastern Conference, finishing first and earning first-year coach Kenny Atkinson Coach of the Year honors from his fellow head coaches. The Cavs drew Miami in the first round of the playoffs after Miami won 2 straight road play-in games.
Tone, he and Mobley get so little attention because they just go do their jobs. There's no histrionics. There's no drama. There doesn't seem to be any, obsession with social media. They just go out there and do their thing, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are pretty well off because of it.
Happy anniversary, Sacramento Kings. Around this day 23 years ago, the Kings defeated Utah in Game 1 of their first-round playoff series. Sacramento's first win in the opener of a playoff series since 1981, when the Kansas City Kings defeated Portland in Game 1. The 2002 Kings would go all the way to the conference finals, where many people, including Michael Ray Wilbon, believe they were deliberately hosed by referees in Game 6 and eventually lost the series to the Lakers. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Sacramento made 8 straight playoff appearances, but then they hit a 16-year drought. They ended that drought in 2023, but since then, they have lost 2 straight play-in games and missed the main draw.
Tone, you and I are about the only people who will remember players from that 81 team. How about including Otis Birdsong, Ernie Grunfeld, Scott Wedman, Sam Lacey, and Phil Ford, who had been a great rookie a couple of years earlier. He was hurt and not in that series, but they were sort of formidable, and nobody thinks about them. Nobody remembers they played in Kansas City.
Happy trails, Emmanuel Valdez. The Pirates' first baseman hit a shot to center on Saturday, stretched it to a triple. But he hurt his left shoulder during his headfirst slide, and when he tried to call time with his right hand, he lifted it off the base. He was immediately tagged out by Guardians' third baseman Jose Ramirez. One other highlight from the weekend is worth sharing. Ellie De La Cruz snagged a line drive on the other side of second base to preserve the Reds' 1-0 lead over the Orioles. De La Cruz led off the next frame with a home run. The Reds went on to win by the ridiculous score of 24-2.
The umpire who called that kid out, that base runner out, I'd have suspended him. Automatic suspension for just being mean and a dope. The guy, he's in there, they call timeout all the time without anybody doing more than nodding to them, and he called him out. Suspension, loss of pay, take a break for a while.
And the melancholy trails to Jay Siegel. The golfer died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 81. Siegel was one of the most accomplished amateur golfers of all time, winning 2 U.S. amateurs, 3 U.S. mid-amateurs, posting low amateur at the Masters 3 times, playing in 9 Walker Cup matches, twice as a captain. He later won 8 times on the Champions Tour. Siegel had planned to turn pro out of college, but his left hand went through a window, requiring 70 stitches, and instead, he started a successful insurance business. He called the hand injury the best thing to ever happen to him.
What an amazing career. Amazing, even a lot of people didn't know.
Quick to the big finish. The Atlanta Hawks fired GM Landry Fields. Your thoughts?
Man, they did some nice draft work, but they lost twice in the play-in. I don't know about that one. Justin Thomas won for the first time in nearly 3 years. Is that a big deal to you?
2 weeks in a row, Rory McIlroy, JT got off the schneid. I think it is. The Brewers stole 6 bases in 1 inning yesterday against the A's. You impressed?
Well, it just seemed very, pre-World War II-like, and in fact, hadn't been done since the New York Giants in 1919. 4 Stanley Cup playoff games tonight. Pick a winner.
Pick a winner. The Caps. Going with the Caps. Last one. Pistons-Knicks, game 2 tonight. Who you got?
Hate to tell you this, Tony, but the Knickerbockers, who played really well in game 1, I think they're going down to Detroit basketball tonight. I think that series goes 1-1.
Really? How about 21-0 in the fourth quarter last time?
Yeah,
Try to do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. And now, your sports.
PTI. There's Tony and Mike.
All right, Wilbon, what is your reaction to Nico Harrison's comments?
Tony, it's interesting. I don't have the violent reaction to everything Nico Harrison says or does, like seemingly most people who care about the NBA or basketball or just getting on Nico Harrison. I found it incredibly naive when he said that he knew that, Luka was big, but not necessarily to this degree. And I just sort of chuckled at that. I know Nico Harrison a little bit. And he had a very successful career with Nike. And it's interesting now that he's basically being held up to be the biggest villain in the history of sports. And, if he had made this trade, or if he had made this trade in a different ownership situation under a guy named Mark Cuban, Cuban would be getting a lot of the examination, a lot of the blame, a lot of the blowback, whatever it is, because we know Cuban, because he's out there, he's sitting there, who he is. But the new Dallas owner, Patrick Dumont, you mean to tell me that Nico Harrison did all of this without the knowledge, permission, maybe even the attaboy of that owner, that billionaire? I'm not buying that for a second. That's as naive as Harrison saying, I didn't know how popular Luka was. So I don't go crazy about everything Nico Harrison like most people.
Okay. First of all, he would not have made this trade if Mark Cuban was the owner, because Mark Cuban wouldn't have allowed this trade to go through, and you know that as well as I do. I said the first day that this trade happened, I said I would fire Nico Harrison and he would eventually be fired, and I believe he will eventually be fired. And I understand what you're saying about ownership, but everything that I've been led to believe was that Nico Harrison instigated the thought of the trade to begin with, that it came from him, it didn't come from ownership. So let's look at what he did for a second. He traded Luka Doncic, the most popular guy in basketball in Dallas. Probably maybe even in history, though I doubt it. Not in history yet, because Dirk Nowitzki had delivered a championship and was an MVP. So no, he's not as big yet as Dirk Nowitzki. But he got rid of this guy because everyone says he thought that he was too fat and they wouldn't win a championship with him. He was making a long-term decision. Well, fat Luka the year before went all the way to the NBA Finals. Didn't win, but went to the NBA Finals. He traded away a 25-year-old kid. He didn't really give it the full chance to see if he would ever win a championship. Prematurely just said, no, get out of here. Okay, that is the decision that was made. And he probably rused the day that he made that decision, because now he says, whoa, man, this landed on me like a ton of bricks. Well, of course it is. Of course it is, because it for the city, for the franchise, it's a terrible trade. Do I think that the ownership had to approve it? Sure, of course. They could have stood up and said, we're not doing it. Get out of here right now. They didn't do that. Yeah. They didn't do that. They approved it. But, Mike, it's a terrible trade. It's a terrible trade. The kid's 25. Come on.
We agree on that. We agree on all that. Let me put a PS on this, postscript on this. Suppose the Dallas Mavericks win the upcoming NBA draft lottery, and therefore the right to draft a certain young man out of Duke University, who everybody thinks is like the next great player. All right? And Luka and Luka gets forgotten because this kid goes 17. He's 8 years younger than Luka. Suppose that happens to Nico Harrison.
He's
Then
18.
what?
He's 7 years. Well, then it'll work out, but that's a long shot. That's a real long shot as opposed to having Luka Doncic on your squad, which you did for 4 or 5 or 6 years. You had him.
Something to ponder, by the way. And Luka's 26 now. This kid's 9 years younger, 8 years younger than Luka Doncic. That's it.
Hey.
We're done. Back to you.